to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about a dispute, fishing dispute between India and Sri Lanka. Let us start the session with the question, what is enrichment? As usual, you improve your comprehension skill. Some important words are there, and grammar consolidation, effective English, mini mocks. Let us start with the question, what is this about? Or today that slide is not there. Let us start with editorial vocabulary. After a long time, wean away, an important, it's a phrasal verb. What is the context here? India's fisherfolk must be weaned away from bottom trawling. What do you understand from the context? Must be weaned away from something. That means it is something negative and they have to be kept away from something. What is the meaning? To gradually withdraw or detach someone from something, especially a habit or dependency. It goes more with, good morning, it goes more with a bad habit, usually something negative. You want to keep them away from that. Look at the example. The counselor helped the patient wean away from the addiction to nicotine. Here, help him move away from that addiction, bad habit. Synonyms: detach, disengage, separate. Antonyms: attach, bind, connect. Poaching is an important word. Why is it important? Good morning to all of you. IIT JAM aspirants, Shravani. Let me go to the second word. What is the second word here? Poaching. Poaching is an important word. First, I will tell the meaning, the example. After that, I will tell you why it is important. Look at the context. The Sri Lankan Navy had carried out an operation on June 25th morning to chase away a cluster of Indian poaching trawlers. When do you chase away something? When something is bad, you try to chase away. That means you have to understand it's a negative word, negative connotation. Poaching trawlers in Sri Lankan waters. One more clue for you. Indian trawlers in Sri Lankan waters, obviously not legal, so it is something negative. What is the meaning? Illegally hunting or capturing animals or fish on someone else's property or protected areas. You try to hunt or catch on someone else's property or a protected area, then it is known as poaching. But why is this? Let me read out the synonyms and antonyms. Illegal hunting, trespassing, theft. Conservation, protection, lawful hunting. When you take the word poaching, you have to think of some important words. What are those words? First, you have to think of flora. Flora means what? Plants of a particular region. Then fauna, animals of a particular region. Then you have to think of the word endangered. If endangered means threatened. They are not protected, they become extinct. And some of these poachers, they try to smuggle animal skin, parts of animals. And if the customs officials catch that, those things are called contraband. When customs officials seize those contraband material, then we use the word confiscate. Space constraint. Actually, it's a mini word map. What are the words? Flora, fauna, endangered, extinct, contraband, confiscate, preservation, conservation. All these words you have to recollect. That way it is an important word. Impound. Impound is also an important word. Let us see the context. A trawler vessel was impounded. They impounded a vessel. Active voice, past tense. A vessel was impounded, past tense, passive voice. And 10 fishermen apprehended, of whom 8 were from Tamil Nadu and rest from Andhra Pradesh. This goes with, in Sri Lankan waters, Indian trawlers fishing, something illegal. Based on that, you have to guess. A trawler vessel was impounded, means what? Seized, to take into control. Look at the meaning. To seize and take legal custody of something, typically because of an infringement of a law or regulation, infringement, trespassing, violating the law. Look at the example. The police impounded the car after the driver was found without a valid license. They found a driver without a valid license, then what do? They impound the vehicle, obviously. Synonyms: confiscate, seize, detain. Antonyms: release, free, return. The next word is apprehend. Apprehension is different. Apprehension means a feeling that something bad is going to happen. Usually we say, before the exam, don't entertain any apprehensions. Don't entertain fears. But here, what is the word apprehend? A different meaning altogether. Look at the context. A trawler vessel was impounded and 10 fishermen apprehended. Fishermen apprehended. Then you have to guess they were arrested, taken into custody, or detained. What is the meaning? To arrest someone for a crime or to understand or perceive something, either for a crime or to get information, also, you may apprehend. Look at the example. The police were able to apprehend a suspect shortly after the robbery. They were able to arrest the suspect shortly after the robbery. Arrest, capture, seize, release, free, let go. Simple words. The next word we have got many a time. What is the next word? Revive. Part of speech verb. Look at the context. This is an opportunity for the two countries to revive the negotiation process. Revive the negotiation process. What do you understand? Negotiation process, something positive. Revive that one. Bring back into existence. Look at the meaning. To restore to life or consciousness, to give new strength or energy to. Generally, we use that word. Imagine a particular organization once very popular. After some time, the reputation went down. Then a new person comes, he tries to revive the institute or the organization, bring back the old glory. Look at the example. The paramedics were able to revive the unconscious man after he collapsed. This goes with the literal meaning. But generally, revival, revitalize, revive, a resurgence, they go with an institute or an organization. Resuscitate, a new word we have got for the first time. You have to spend some time to remember. Rejuvenate, restore. Antonyms: suppress, extinguish, kill. Negative words. Convene. Convene, part of speech. What is a screenshot? What does it mean? Gita Shri. Here, convene, part of speech verb. Look at the context. Mr. Stalin has done well, something positive. To remind Mr. Jaishankar to convene a meeting. Generally, the word convene goes with a meeting. Convene a meeting means arrange a meeting, organize a meeting. Of the joint working group last held virtually over 2 years ago. Look at the example. A meaning: to come together or assemble, usually for some public purpose. Example sentence: the board of directors will convene next week to discuss the new project. The board of directors will assemble next week to discuss the new project. What are the synonyms? Assemble, gather, meet. Antonyms: disperse. Adjourn does not go with this context. Scatter. Those are the words from today's editorial. Let us go to the editorial, see what is there to learn. And any editorial, I have been telling you guys, they need a particular incident or event or a policy. Something should be there to get motivated to write an article or an editorial. What is the stimulus here? Net damage, because it is related to fishing dispute, so symbolically net damage. On the fisheries dispute, India and Sri Lanka. What is the main idea? India's fisher folk must be weaned away from bottom trawling. Must be weaned away. We must wean them away, active voice. They must be weaned away, passive voice. Means what? That habit of fishing in Sri Lankan waters has to be stopped. They should bring it to an end. That is the main idea. How to do it? Editorial has a few suggestions. The resumption of fishing off India's eastern coast, including the Park Bay, after the annual 61-day ban on fishing, has led to the death of a sailor from the Sri Lanka Navy. Generally, when you read a sentence, you got to know how to read that sentence. What is the subject? What are the phrases? In English, we have the basic pattern. Though there are 350 patterns, the basic pattern is subject, verb, object pattern. If the writers use this pattern, they cannot convey a lot of meaning. So, what they do, they try to use a few phrases or clauses after the subject, after the object, or the subject itself, they may use a phrase or a clause. Let's see how it you cannot ask those questions here. I'm sorry. Anything related to editorial, I can answer. I cannot go off that track. Here, the resumption is a subject of fishing, a phrase, of India's eastern coast, including the Park Bay, a phrase, after the annual 61-day ban on fishing, a phrase, has led to. The resumption has led to. See where the subject is, where the verb is. I'm really sorry, IIT JAM aspirants. I never answer questions not related to the editorial. And why do I do that? If I start answering a lot of students bring a lot of questions, then I cannot continue with the editorial analysis. It is unnecessary distraction. We go off that track. I hope you understand. Here, the resumption is the subject has led to the death of a sailor from the Sri Lanka Navy. Subject, verb, object has led to the death. The main idea, the resumption has led to the death of someone. Thank you. The word resumption, based on that, I would like to teach two things. One is resumption is a noun form. What is a verb form? Resume. Resume means start again. You start some work, stop, take a break, you restart, you start again. That is nothing but resume your work. But there's another word you have to know. I'm sure you all know, but the original form, I don't know how many of you know. The strokes are important. I guess it's a French word. How do you pronounce this? A resume. Actual pronunciation, a resume. But because of Americans, now everyone says a resume. Information about yourself. Bring your resume at the time of the interview. Get your resume. That's a different meaning that you have to know. The Sri Lankan Navy had carried out an operation on June 25th morning to chase away a cluster of Indian poaching trawlers in Sri Lankan waters off Kankasanturai near Jaffna. Something happened. What happened? A particular, because of these illegal fishing in Sri Lankan waters, in that particular operation, one person died. And more information about that operation. They carried out an operation on when? June 25th morning. Why? To chase away a cluster of Indian poaching trawlers in Sri Lankan waters off Kankasanturai near Jaffna. Information about the incident. A trawler vessel was impounded, past tense passive voice, and 10 fishermen apprehended, of whom 8 were from Tamil Nadu and the rest from Andhra Pradesh. In that operation, what did they do? Two things happened. One, they seized the trawler and impounded the trawler. Second, they apprehended, arrested 10 fishermen. Some belong to Tamil Nadu, some belong to AP. There have also been several cases of Indian Tamil Nadu fishermen dying too. One person from Sri Lankan side died, and here Indian side, some Tamil Nadu fishermen also they are dying. It talks about that, and based on that, fishermen dying too. What is the response of the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister? The Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, Mr. M.K. Stalin, sought the intervention of the External Affairs Minister as Jaishankar in releasing the vessel and the men. Based on the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister wanted Mr. Jaishankar, the minister at the center, External Affairs Minister, to intervene and do two things. One, release the vessel. Second, release the men also from custody. In his reply sent to the Chief Minister on Thursday, Mr. Jaishankar said The Indian High Commission had been seeking the early release of 34 fishermen in judicial remand and six others who were serving sentences. When Mr. Stalin requested Mr. Jaishankar to intervene, Mr. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister, responded. What was the response? He said, External Affairs Ministry has been seeking, past perfect continuous tense, the early release of 34 fishermen in judicial remand or custody and six others who were serving sentences. Already they have been imprisoned or they have been given sentences, they were serving sentences. This is an opportunity for the two countries to revive the negotiation process exclusively to deal with the fisheries dispute. Based on this, actually something negative happened. What happened? Indian fishermen, especially from Tamil Nadu, they are fishing in Sri Lankan waters, which is illegal. And they're trying to poaching illegal activity, and it's a negative incident. But in this context, the editorial says there's an opportunity. And here I would like to tell you guys, you have to recollect one idiom or popular saying. What is it? Blessing in disguise. Have you heard of this any time? Blessing in disguise means something bad happened initially, but later it proves to be positive. Then we say it was a blessing in disguise. Like that, this is an opportunity for the two countries to revive the negotiation process exclusively to deal with the fisheries dispute, which became this particular dispute, which became aggravated in the wake of the 1974 and 76 bilateral agreements to demarcate their maritime boundary lines. There has been a dispute and that got aggravated because of what 74, 76 bilateral agreements related to demarcation of maritime boundaries. Mr. Stalin has done well. Editorial takes a stand, appreciates the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. Mr. Stalin has done well to remind Mr. Jaishankar to convene a meeting of the Joint Working Group, last held virtually over 2 years ago. It is appreciating Tamil Nadu. Demarking means making the boundaries very clear. Demarcation means drawing the lines regarding the boundaries clearly. Convene a meeting of the Joint Working Group, last held virtually over 2 years ago. The acts of Indian fishermen crossing the international maritime boundary line are clearly illegal. As I said, if you take a particular country, imagine there's a coastline. If you take southern India, I think it is 12 nautical miles belong to India can claim authority. Beyond that, we say high seas. High seas means international waters. They don't belong to anyone. 12 nautical miles within India's authority. Now, Indian fishermen going to Sri Lanka fishing over there, obviously it is not legal, clearly illegal. Now, based on that, the editorial says, why do they go there? There's a pertinent question. Why do the fishermen go to Sri Lanka, all the way to Sri Lanka to fish, though it is illegal? Survival, livelihood. But the editorial opines livelihood is one thing, at the same time, preservation of marine ecosystem is another thing. They cannot be separated. Both have to be respected. We cannot de-link these two. Factors relating to protection of livelihood opportunities cannot be de-linked from the importance of the preservation of marine ecosystem. We cannot de-link. They are related, dependent on each other. Then there should be a solution. What is a solution? Here the editorial comes up with a solution. A gradual replacement of bottom trawlers being used by the Tamil Nadu fishermen is a must. A clear stand taken by the editorial. They should not use the bottom trawlers. What is the reason? They affect, or you can say they affect the marine ecosystem. But what is the solution? They have to replacement of bottom trawlers being used by the Tamil Nadu fishermen is a must. But the fisher folk require time to prepare for diversification. You cannot expect the fishermen to change overnight. Tell them leave the trawlers, bottom trawlers, What is the alternative? They have to be provided with an alternative. Here, the editorial suggests a few sources regarding diversification. What are those? Deep sea fishing, marine cage farming, seaweed cultivation and processing, and sea ranching. All these are alternatives to leave that. I will explain. Folk, I will explain. Here there is one word folk. Generally, we say fishermen plural. Here you see the expression fisher folk. Both mean the same. But what is the meaning of the word folk? Folk goes with a rural or related to rural areas or villages, traditions and customs. Based on that, we have folk music, folk songs, folk dances. What do they mean? Folk dance, folk music, related to our traditions, our culture. And where do you find the culture, the traditions, rural areas, and the villages? Here, another meaning of the word folk. Here, folk means group belonging to a particular community or profession. In the past, we would see our friends and say, "Hi, friends." Now things have changed. People say, "Hi, guys." They also say, "Hi, folks." People belonging to a particular community. Have you got it? Here, that's what it means. What does it talk about? The sources, alternatives, the experiences of the deep sea fishing project being executed by the Union and Tamil Nadu governments are clear enough to conclude that it's a failure. There's a particular project being done, conducted, or executed by the Union and Tamil Nadu governments, and editorial says it's a clear failure. Why is it a failure? The editorial has to justify. It has to provide some information. This is the sentence talks about that. After nearly 7 years of implementation, only 61 deep sea fishing vessels have been handed over to beneficiaries, with 19 more under construction. 7 years, only 61 have been handed over, 19 under construction. It would be thoughtful if the union government clubs the project with an all India program where the unit cost of a deep sea fishing vessel is 40 lakh higher, at least to get a better response even at this stage. This is a suggestion from the editorial what the center has to do. The unit cost of a deep sea fishing editorial says all these they have to. Please wait for a few seconds. Buffering, wait for a few seconds. All these have to meet soon to find out a solution to put an end to this dispute. That's what the editorial says. Now it is okay, I suppose. Let us go to the questions. Read the first one and try to answer. What prompted the editorial on the fisheries dispute between India and Sri Lanka? What is a prompt? What is a stimulus to write this editorial? A new trade agreement between the two countries? No. The death of a Sri Lankan sailor during an operation to chase away Indian trawlers? Yes. Joint fishing expedition? No. Inauguration of a new fishing harbor? No. What is the answer? B is the answer. What method of fishing used by Tamil Nadu fishermen is highlighted as problematic in the editorial? A particular method of fishing has been highlighted as a problem. What is that? Not longline fishing, not drift net fishing, not spear fishing. It is bottom trawling. Very good. What has been the primary consequence of the 1974 and 1976 bilateral agreements between India and Sri Lanka according to the editorial? Those bilateral agreements made the situation, aggravated the situation, a negative thing mentioned in the editorial. Based on that, improved trade relations? No. Clear demarcation of maritime boundary lines? No. Aggravation of the fisheries dispute. They aggravated the situation. Yes. Question number 4. What sustainable alternatives to bottom trawling are suggested in the editorial? Bottom trawling has to be stopped. That is a must. And based on that, editorial has come up with a few alternatives. What are those? 4 have been mentioned in the editorial: deep sea fishing, marine cage farming, seaweed cultivation, and sea ranching. Answer is C. How successful has the deep sea fishing project been according to the editorial? A particular project taken up by Center and Tamil Nadu State, how successful has it been? In the editorial, if you look at the editorial context, negative. So you cannot consider very successful. Cannot, this is vague, somewhat successful. A complete failure, you may get tempted to choose that one. With no vessels handed over. No, they handed over some vessels. How many? 61. Based on that, what is the answer? Largely unsuccessful, with only 61 vessels handed over in nearly 7 years. Obviously, answer is D. Very good. I appreciate you guys. Now, when we go to these questions, first you listen to me. Here you see a sentence. In each sentence, there are two errors. Mind you, not one error, two errors. You have to spot two errors. Read the sentence meticulously and try to get the answer. Try to spot two errors. As neighbors objected to she entering the apartment, she has to return. Take each part and look at it carefully. As neighbors objected, no problem. Objected to what? To she entering. Here we have a gerund. Before a gerund, when you use a pronoun, it should be in the possessive form. You can also call it possessive adjective. She is a pronoun in the subject form, not correct? So, what is the possessive form? Her entering. Her entering. And the apartment, she has to, already over. We cannot use has to, we have to say she had to return. Ah, very good. You could spot the first one. What is the second one? Her entering is right. Ah, wonderful, Ahmed. You answered both. One is her entering, the other one not has to, had to. Go to the second one. The viruses are sensitive to humidity and are less likely to thrive at moderate levels of humidity. Series of experimental studies over the years has shown. Look at each part. The viruses are sensitive to humidity, no problem, and are less likely to thrive, no problem, at moderate levels of humidity. After that, series of experimental studies, you have to say a series of experimental studies over the years has no, have been. Have you guys got it? No one has responded this one. Let us go to the next one. Doctors are imprisoned for months despite of. Here itself we can stop. After despite, we should not. Understood. After despite, we should not use the preposition of. First error. Despite having devoted themselves to the care of the most vulnerable among us. Here, us. It is a word that begins with a vowel letter, vowel sound. Then we cannot use among, we have to use amongst. That is a bit difficult. Both, it could be used as singular, it could be used as plural. Busy like. Have been conducted. Series of experiments have been conducted. It can take singular verb, it can take plural verb. Ah, Ahmed, amongst, that is the right word. Of should not be there. Here it should be amongst because of the word us. There are 5 idioms. Try to get all the 5 correct. Out of the woods means out of danger. Based on that, E. Here we say forests. Native speakers say That is the difference. If the word after the preposition begins with a word that begins with a vowel letter or a vowel sound, we have to use amongst. If it does not begin, if it begins with a consonantal letter or a consonantal sound, we have to use among. Paper tiger seems to be powerful but not really powerful. Play second fiddle, have a subordinate position. Puffed up ego means what? Filled with a lot of pride. Put in a word, speak on someone's behalf. Have you got all the five correct? Out of the woods, out of danger or safe. Paper tiger seems to be powerful, not powerful. Play second fiddle, have a subordinate position to someone. And puffed up ego, filled up with pride. Put in a word, speak on someone's behalf. We have the last slide today. Foreign words. Try to get all the five correct. Bona fide. Bona fide student means what? Genuine. De facto means in fact. De jure means by right or legally. Cul-de-sac, a road with a dead end. Cul-de-sac, B. De novo, from the beginning. So what is the correct order? CEABD. You guys are with the second one. That's all for today. I hope you guys have got enriched. Have a nice day. And after the session, join the Telegram group. You can access the PDF and try to work on important words and expressions. Thank you very much.